Welcome to Weekdays Live. I'm your host, CJ Holmes, and founder of Homeowners for Justice. And today we're pushing the envelope once again. And so please bear with us if we happen to crash our live stream because of some reason we don't understand. I think I got rid of Flash Crash. Please just hang in there. We'll be starting right back up. Today we've got our guests on with us on Skype. It doesn't look like we're getting good video Skype, so it's going to be audio Skype. And we also have a conference call line opened up that you're welcome to join. Please understand that once you join the conference, you're going to hear everything on the show. So if you make noises or talk, it's going to be live streamed. And for those of you listening, and of course this is during the show, so if you're watching live during the show, you can call in and then hear the show be right up to speed with what is being said. Because I know live stream is a little bit delayed when you're just watching the internet TV. So the number is 1-559-726-1300. And just like any kind of phone conference call, you can call in and press, when you get the prompt, 859-261 with the pound sign, and then it will welcome you to the show, and you will be able to start hearing what I'm saying, what Renee or Lorraine are saying. You won't be able to see the live stream because this is a phone conference call. So if you're watching live stream while you're calling in, please either mute the sound or put earphones on. Otherwise, we're going to get this nasty mic feedback because the sound of your live stream will come through the phone and will be shared with the live stream. So that's not a good sign. So welcome to the show. Welcome to us pushing the envelope. And today we've got some, it makes me laugh, and I only laugh because it's so classic and wonderful. And I think that this, combined with the complaints that we've been talking about, can really help push the owners into a position of power and sway public opinion. So it's called filing claims. There's specifically two claims, I call them monkey wrench claims, that we may be able to do as owners to help save the property, to help stave off foreclosures, to shift the political winds so that we can get the kind of justice and restitution that we're all seeking. So before we do that, though, I have a few things I really need to share with you. I tell you, the news talks about every day there's something different. Here's an article. Just a minute. Excuse me, if you're on the conference call, please don't talk because you're on live stream. All right? Please just wait till I call on you. Thanks. So back to the articles. Mortgage servicing scandal could affect the Wilco owners. And this goes direct to that securitization audit that they had done. And it starts right with this. Imagine paying off your home in full and then finding out your property's in foreclosure, maybe even years after making that final payment. This is the utter nightmare. And this is what's happening. And this is what you and I and activists and owners all over the country need to make go viral. This is the viral problem that the people and landowners, which is everybody now, 300 million of us in this country, face. Let's make no mistake about it. If the banks had their way, and as they've proven, they will take any and every property they possibly can, whether they have any rights or not. So it's up to us to stop them. I wanted to also bring to your attention a couple of other different things going on in the legal arena. In Detroit, there's two events that occurred, foreclosures and fraud, and the big fight. So now you've got neighborhoods against foreclosures, as you would well imagine. Detroit's just been decimated. But as you scroll down, you'll see that you've got a Freedom of Information lawsuit by Detroit against the big banks and Wall Street that have wreaked havoc. And what they want is the freedom of information. They want information, and the banks are not responding. And they are supposed to respond within 15 days. Of course, they have not. And what they are seeking are 10 years worth of records related to all contracts and agreements between the city and banks or brokerage houses relating to the purchase of bonds, Interest rate swaps, think of those as municipal bonds. Pension obligation certificates, those are the entities that got suckered into buying these mortgage-backed securities. Let's see, what else? Oh, hedge fund derivatives, termination or default agreement, or other forms of debt. So this is a full circle. The owners want to keep the houses, and the cities are now going after the banks saying, what are you doing? And you have ruined us, and it's all your fault. And we want this information, we're going to use it against you, obviously. That's the point. So those kinds of fights are starting to heat up. This is just recent. Here's another thing I want to point out. Texas joins a Dodd-Frank lawsuit. There are currently 10 other states in a lawsuit that challenge the constitutionality of the way Dodd-Frank gives financial regulators authority to order the dismantling of a bank. So what we've got right now is people outside our elected control taking away our banks. And so these are part of the problems that we've got, that we're facing. Now, you've got to hear this little video. It's about 4 minutes, and it's about the, and I'm getting feedback on my conference call. I'm not sure exactly why that is. Anyway, this is about the housing bubble 2.
One of the bright spots of the U.S. economy that some have touted is that of a housing recovery. But is it real? Is it sustainable? David Stockman's here to answer that. He's the former director of the Office of Management and Budget. He also has a book coming out, The Great Deformation. That's coming out this spring. So, housing recovery? Well, yes or no?
I would say we have a housing bubble again. We don't have a real, organic, sustainable recovery because in a world of medicated money by the central bank, things aren't what they appear to be. So if you look at what's going on right now, there is some uptick in volume. Prices are beginning to come out of the sub-basement, down 30%. But it's happening in the most speculative former subprime markets where massive amounts of fast money is rolling in to buy to rent on a speculative basis for a quick trade, and as soon as they conclude that prices have moved enough to produce a return, they'll be gone as fast as they came. In other words, Blackstone now owns 16,000 rental, and these are not apartment buildings, these are single-family homes in Scottsdale, Arizona, and places like that. Colony Capital, the dentists, the doctors, the Chinese, they're all coming in. But this isn't organic demand that's going to support the true recovery of housing. The problem in housing is the two forces you need to recover, first-time buyers and trade-up buyers, are both missing. The first-time buyers, the young people, don't have jobs, or if they do, they've got so many student loans, they can't raise enough down payment to become effective buyers. Right. Secondly, the trade-up buyers are now becoming the baby boomers, heading for retirement, and basically they have no savings, and they're going to have to sell their castle into the market, so they're going to be trade-down sellers, not trade-up buyers. And those two headwinds are going to go on for years and years, and that is the problem we have in the market today. So having the Fed come in and make interest rates artificially low, 3.2% or 2.5% today on the Freddie Mac rate, is a huge mistake. We're just recreating the same speculative bubble that we had before.
Now, people that would argue that there is a housing recovery, some that I've interviewed say, no, their interest rates, yes, mortgage rates are low, but lending standards have recovered. They're not ridiculous like they were during the housing bubble before 2008 where you could fog a mirror and get a loan. What do you say to that?
Well, I say, first of all, if you look at the markets that have really bounced, like Phoenix or Las Vegas or parts of California, 50% of the buyers are cash buyers who are basically buying to speculate and rent. They're not people buying to move in and live, so they're not real homeowners.
So what is the problem with that? If they are investors and it does prove to be a good investment and they're renting those homes, how do we know that'll go sour?
Because all bubbles go sour. In other words, this is a function that interest rates are so low and there's so much cheap money available to speculators, okay, that they're coming in, buying these properties as a spec on a lot of debt, and as soon as there's enough price movement to get a return objective achieved, they'll be out. And as a result of that, who's going to buy, where are the real buyers? I don't think they're there.
Okay.
And so it is always wrong to mislead markets with cheap money and low interest rates because it basically fuels speculation. This is just a little more sophisticated form of what the flippers and other speculators were doing in the last bubble. I would just say this is housing bubble 2.
If this is a bubble, what will be the catalyst to burst it, and how far down the line will it be? Will it be when rates go up?
Yeah, as soon as the Fed has to normalize interest rates, you can't have zero rates forever. As soon as they do, what's going to happen is housing prices are going to stop appreciating. They'll probably head down. The fast money will sell as quickly as they can, and the bubble will pop almost as rapidly as it's appeared. I don't know how many times we're going to do this, but over and over, and the only people that benefit are the top 1%, the hedge funds, the LBO funds, the fast money people who come in for a trade, make a quick buck, and then move along to the next bubble. This is the consequence, serial bubbles, of what the Fed is doing.
Lather, rinse, repeat. Thank you so much, David Stockman.
And I want to point out that they are exactly right. This is exactly what is happening in the market. I'm a broker, I've told you, and I'm working with typically owners, some cash investors. I would call them small time. They're not buying 1,000 homes at a whack. And the fact of the matter is, the people, the owners, don't have a chance in buying against the cash. Cash wins without a doubt. Hands down, cash wins. And this is part of the problem. Buyers, owners, can't buy. Now, for some reason, I'm getting some feedback. I'm not real sure why.
Muted.
Maybe that's me. I don't know what's going on. Anyway, I think it has to do with my conference call. Bear with us. We'll work this out and we'll figure out how this goes. So without further ado, I'd like to welcome our guests, Lorraine and Renee. And so,
Unmuted.
okay, you guys, please don't talk on the conference. Please don't talk on the conference call because you come into the live stream show. So, and if you're listening to live stream on the conference call,
what you may want to do, CJ, is have whoever's coming in on the conference call, the anonymous person, hang up right now and call back in after we're done with discussion for questions. That way you won't have the feedback.
Yeah, that would be great. And if you're getting feedback, it means you're watching the live stream while you're on the call, right? So put the live stream.
We can't understand you at all, CJ.
Okay.
Tell anonymous to hang up, please, and then we should have better follow through here.
Okay, I've dropped that call. But see how I'm hearing myself? And
Yes, you're echoing.
Well, I think somebody has the live stream running while you're on the call.
Okay, I don't.
And I've been trying to mute so that I don't get that sound, that feedback. I apologize. We're working through the struggles, and I'm still getting feedback. I'm going to mute.
Muted.
Hopefully that stops the feedback. Oh, no, it didn't. All right, I'm going to stop the conference.
Yeah, stop the conference call and just call us in individually.
Oh, I don't think I can call you individually.
Bye.
First off, here's part of the problem. I don't even remember the phone numbers.
No, stop. Whatever just happened, we're fine. It must have been Lorraine's connection.
No, I'm still on.
No, Lorraine's on.
You are, that it's on. We're good. We're good. It's on, CJ.
Okay. Renee, you're talking to me on video.
Yes, we're good.
Oh,
That's what I'm saying. We can go ahead and proceed. The echo is gone.
I thought this was on the phone conference call.
Well, it just started again, so it's got to be something you're doing on your end.
Do either of you have the live stream going?
No.
No, I don't.
Now see how we get that feedback? Okay, I don't understand what that is, and it's not the phone. It's not the callers. This is the video Skyping. All right, not real sure how that's going to... Okay, this doesn't seem to be working well. Shall we have Lorraine and Renee, can you just go to the conference call? Call us on the conference and talk from there, because we're getting such feedback on the video Skype, it's not working.
Okay.
All right. Sorry, guys.
That's okay.
Okay. All right. So we're going to hang up video Skype. I'm not sure how I'm getting that feedback. It could be the speakers. I'm not real sure what's going on. We'll have to keep experimenting. They already have the conference call number. I dumped everybody. I apologize. So call in again, because I thought it was the conference call, the people on the phone, on the conference call phone, that was causing this feedback, and evidently it was not. It was the video Skype. So when they join us, then we'll get back on the, I think I have to call back in. Sorry, just a minute.
Access code accepted. There is one other participant in this conference. Please announce yourself.
Okay, I'm CJ. I'm back on the conference call.
Lorraine Souter.
Lorraine has joined us. Renee, are you there? Okay, Lorraine, you're on first, so go ahead. Share with us what you have for us today.
Oh, okay. Well,
We talked about, we had a great discussion last night, and the whole point is what other things owners can do to help throw monkey wrenches into their foreclosure, stop the foreclosure, and maybe get some restitution. Now, why don't you briefly update us about your lawsuit, because I hear you had some really good change about that. You had some real good movement on that lawsuit.
Okay. I contacted my title company, which was Chicago Title, and I filed a claim. Apparently my title insurance protects me against any clouds that may be as a result of what the lenders did. The fact that I can't sell my house, there's breaks in the chain of title, and they have to come here, correct that, and even represent me in court.
I'm charging the fee.
I'm sorry, just a minute, Lorraine. I'm hearing someone else. Is there a William Neely speaking on the phone? Please don't speak when you're on the conference call, because we pick it up in our live stream. And right now, just please wait until I ask you to share and ask your question. Lorraine was sharing with us what has gone on in her lawsuit. So Lorraine, you actually now talked about filing.
If somebody gives you simple instructions to go do something, and you have an expert.
Okay, excuse me just a minute. This is amazing. Okay, though. Okay, go ahead, Lorraine. Here's the title claim that she's talking about. Explain what that is. Lorraine, are you there?
I'm here.
Okay, so I have up on the screen right now the copy of a letter. You have Dear Chicago Title. And why did you file this letter? Hello? Lorraine? Where did she go? Lorraine, are you there?
CJ, I'm on. I don't know what happened to Lorraine. There she is. I'm here.
Lorraine, are you at 717-841? Oh, golly.
717.
so that
Somebody
I
has,
on the
is,
call.
okay, I'm gonna just get rid of that one.
I just wanted to come to the call and try to provide some education on
Okay, we're having a problem with this conference call. I apologize. Oh my goodness, I should have just used the phone. Okay, Lorraine, are you still there? Well, Renee, you're there, right? Renee? Renee, are you there? Lorraine?
I'm here.
Okay, Lorraine, go ahead. I'm sorry.
already noticed the affidavit. that he-
Yeah, I'm here, but you need to literally just stop this, and yes,
Yeah.
I'm here.
Uh,
Here too.
And Renee, what phone number? Are you calling from a 717 area code?
No, I'm 949.
That's what I thought. Now,
717.
You need that right now.
when there's someone calling from a
We
717,
need to hang this up and do normal call-in. This is a purposeful
Yeah.
problem. They're
Yeah.
doing this on purpose. Yes, exactly.
oh, you think so?
Yes, I know so. So hang this call up and just call in, have Gail call us like normal.
Okay, here,
We're gonna send
all right, just a minute. Isn't that fascinating? Okay, this is the first time I've had that kind of experience, guys. Silly me. Okay, we're gonna have to,
create an affidavit.
yeah, okay. So Gail, do you have the two numbers, Lorraine and Renee? Can you just call them directly on the phone and get a conference call for
I'll
me?
find it, yeah.
Um,
Tell Lorraine if I don't
For
color in 2
9.
minutes, call me back.
okay, Lorraine and Renee, just call my number. Call our number and Gail will conference us in. I'm sorry, guys.
No problem.
That's pretty interesting. That is really interesting that we're having people trying to keep this information from going. Now, we don't know why. The fact is we don't charge. It could be that they want to, get fees or something. I really have no idea. Could be banks. It could be anything. Could just be people that can have a chance to do something. So we'll have to figure out how this works and probably have a different passcode. We won't share the passcode, and we'll have a conference call able to, be just the people that really want to call in. You'll have to email me, get permission, and I'll pass the code out, something like that. I'm learning, and until we do this, we don't know how this really works. So today, we've got Lorraine and Renee soon to be on the phone in a conference call so that they can share with us, because what they've done is figured out 2 other claims that can be filed. And one of those claims, like Lorraine started talking about, is the IRS. Well, actually, she's going to bring the IRS up, but one of them is the title claim, and that's from the title insurance policy. So it's fascinating because I'm a real estate broker. I do real estate transactions, and I look at title policies, and I have noticed over the years, and I've pointed this out earlier in another live stream a while back, how they have changed the exceptions to the rule. So they cover barely anything now. They certainly don't want to cover any claims against anything if what you've bought is a property that was bank owned, because there's all kinds of claims, and as we're showing and talking about, the kinds of statements of suspicious documents brings all of these foreclosures into question, and the title company doesn't want to be on the hook for that. John Stewart, called them the lackeys of the banks, but turns out they when they see it's not in their vested interest to be with the banks, they probably will stop doing that. So let me see if I can get us onto a conference call. Hi, this is CJ.
Hey, CJ, it's Renee.
Okay, now somehow I think I can press conference and get Lorraine. Uh-oh, Lorraine, is this you?
Yes.
Okay, and I think I just lost Renee. I don't know how to do the conference. I pressed conference, but it didn't work.
Oh,
I should have done hold, right?
Yeah, they were, okay, let me, you have Lorraine on there?
I have Lorraine,
Okay,
yes.
go with
Okay.
Lorraine, let me get Renee back.
Okay. All right. One thing I don't understand is how to do the phones. I got this computer stuff. Okay, Lorraine, let's move forward. So
Okay.
we're talking about the claim on the title policy. So explain to me, start with your lawsuit, where you're at on that, and then why you filed a title claim.
Okay. Right now, I'm at the discovery phase of the lawsuit where they have to answer certain questions and provide documents and evidence that support what I'm claiming they did wrong. They have 20 days to respond to my amended complaint and 30 days to provide me with discovery.
Now, didn't they try to get you out of court? I mean, didn't they try to bump this out of court?
They tried to file a motion to dismiss.
Yes.
They always try to do that. They, under the Rule 12B, failure to state a claim, but the judge didn't throw it out because I was able to prove that there was a claim that they have to answer to. So,
And I just wanted to mention on the air, one of the ways that you were able to prove you had a claim was what and why so many owners lose their lawsuits. What was that you told me last night? Share that with people.
yes. When you file your actual complaint, you have to state the actual state statutes that they're violating and attach exhibits showing proof. And not just, if you don't do that, then they can say that you're just saying hearsay. And you need to have something tangible to attach to your complaint that they would have to answer to. So I attached actual copies of letters and my note and mortgage showing things were forged and
I put her on hold, then call.
all kinds of stuff. Basically, my amended complaint has about 15 separate exhibits on it.
Okay, so the point is you actually had statutes and exhibits that supported your claim, and a lot of people evidently don't do that.
Evidently, they don't state the actual violations they're violating, the state statutes, the FDCPA, and any other laws that they're breaking. You have to state each law that they're breaking and how it pertains to you, and then attach evidence showing, actual evidence showing they did that.
That just makes such common sense to me. I find it shocking that that isn't what everybody does. I think I've got Renee back on the line. Let me stick you on hold and try to get her in this conference call. I'll try one more time. Thanks, guys, for being patient with me. Hold.
Pick up Renee first. Say hello.
Hi, Renee. Renee?
Hi.
Okay, and now I can do
Now
conference?
hit conference.
Okay, now I'm going to hit conference. Okay, Lorraine, are you there?
Yes.
And Renee, are you there?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, that's great. All right. We figured out the phone. Okay, great. Okay, Lorraine. So Lorraine has actually written a lawsuit that with, talking about the statutes and with evidence exhibits, which reminds me of basically to me, it's common sense. And it's what we're doing really, in essence, with the statement of suspicious documents. We've got the documents and then the supporting, robo-signatures or false notarizations or whatever evidence we can get for each one of those docs. And then we have a list of items, and then we have the statutes that they've been violating. So Lorraine, now that you have actually been able to stay in court and force the banks now to respond to you, what you did, evidently something that you and Renee were talking about led you to file a title claim. What was that about?
I had talked to Renee about the title insurance policy that I had when I first signed the actual loan at closing. What that title insurance policy was all about, and
Correct, your
I
title
sent her a
insurance
copy and she read it.
Okay. And so then you read the title insurance, and I've got your letter up on the screen. So there were several defects. So what you did was go through the letter and the title insurance policy, and then you itemized the issues.
Correct, because the title policy is supposed to protect me against those defects.
And so any defect in, for example, the lien or the encumbrance, and so when and
What happens here, CJ, is
Yeah.
what you have to do is you go through, and this is what I explained to Lorraine the other night. After 6 weeks of doing this is why, we spoke, because I had to do this. 6 weeks of arguing with the title company, young attorney, who was very belittling, et cetera, who thought he knew more than anybody. It took taking apart the title insurance policy and proving to him why, in fact, my home was on market, the issues relating to the grant deed and to what had transpired around the grant deed. So they finally sent me a letter, and what the correspondent said that it was, in fact, that yes, due to the fact that title could possibly be clouded, they did have to represent me. So what I told Lorraine to do is what you see here in the letter is I told her to go through her title policy and extrapolate what they cover. Now remember, they also have things they do not cover.
Exactly.
I want to make sure and see anything that is not covered. But even if it says it's not covered, if in fact it goes back to clouded title at purchase due to the grant deed or the transaction, it still would have to be covered through that because your home is still unmarketable.
I've got to tell you, this is I swear this is what's happening. These brilliant minds are actually looking at the documents. This is a fabulous complaint that I'm going to add to the owner statement of
CJ,
suspicious.
they lost the stream. It says
They lost the stream?
is anybody on chat? Did everybody lose the stream?
It seems like it's streaming.
I'm okay.
Okay, it looks good here.
Donald said they lost stream. So, okay, and no one's responding yet. So anyhow, what you can see,
Okay.
Lorraine, go ahead. I just wanted to clarify that what we did was had you go through your, thank you, Jack, had you go through your title policy and just extrapolate what they cover, and then to make sure what they didn't cover, you looked at as well. So anyhow, Lorraine, go ahead, because she put the letter together, and then it was perfect. It was exactly what needed to come out of her title policy.
Exactly. And before you go on, Lorraine, I just want to point out that this is a fabulous, suspicious statement where literally the grant deeds are created first. They are recorded first before the person signs the deed of trust.
Not necessarily, CJ.
But you
Not
have to
necessarily
you have to look to
So
see if it is, correct?
go through the title policy first and what she's got here, and then when we get into everything, you'll see the difference.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. All right, so
Okay.
whoever is going to speak, go ahead. Share.
Okay, that's fine. It says I basically had some numbers, like number 2, any defect in or lien or encumbrance of the title. Number 3, unmarketability of the title, meaning I can't sell my house.
Right.
Number 5, the invalidity or enforceability of the lien. In other words, the note was separated from the mortgage. That basically, if they don't have the original wet ink signature note, then there's nothing to enforce. There is no lien.
Right.
And they haven't provided any evidence they have it.
Renee, what were you saying?
Remember, too, now, many of you do not have, if you pull your title policy, I know in mine, it specifically leaves out anything to do with any encumbrance or mortgage and anything related to fraud or defects, and it does say that. It states that very equivocally. If there's fraud or defects in the mortgage, that my policy doesn't cover that, but my policy covers the grant deed. So you have to be very careful when you're putting this together to truly, as Randy tells me all the time, the devil's in the details of the words. You must look at the words and really know what you're talking about. It behooves you to speak to someone who is of authority, i.e. maybe an attorney who's a professional. Get your Black Laws Dictionary out, whatever it takes. But not all policies. Lorraine got very lucky. Lorraine hit a home run with this title policy. Why they allowed it, I don't know. It's Chicago, so maybe that's why. It's a Chicago different company than I had. Hers allows for defects in the encumbrance. She's really got a good case here for help from her title company to have to step in and represent her.
It could be the state, it could be the year, it could be the title company, a whole bunch of different things.
Correct.
So Lorraine, have you filed this actually with the title company?
Yes, I did, and I did receive a response from them, and they told me that someone from their claims department would be contacting me shortly.
Okay, so when did you file it, and how long has it been?
I filed it on the 15th, so I guess 4 days.
Okay, so it's not been long enough to start laughing at their non-response. Do you think you're going to get a response? What do you think's going to happen?
The title company, I believe, is on my side as far as fighting the banks. I think they have to represent me and come to my help.
You forget, though, that they also are in with the banks. Most of the banks own the title policy.
I know.
The company. So there is a complete conflict of interest. So as much as you want to believe they're there for you, yes, your insurance covers you, and they're supposed to cover you, but remember, they never expected us to figure all this out. So it wasn't really set up for us, it was set up for the banks. So, but they will get back with you. I know it took them about days to get back online.
How many days, Renee?
Weeks of going back and forth.
How long did it take for you, Renee?
And then they assigned 5 days.
5 days, okay. Oh, that's fast.
Yeah.
That's a shock.
No, they have to respond because they have to respond. What they do with it is it depends on the ability of the agent involved, their understanding, which usually is not as much as like Lorraine. Lorraine probably, well, I can almost tell you, she will have more information going into why the title company needs to help her than the agent does, which is sad. But it's not the agent's fault. It's just the nature of the beast of doing these claims. They just like calling the banks. When you call, you get a customer service who doesn't even know what a PSA is or has even any knowledge of how to do a loan.
Exactly, and it's just exactly what I'm finding when I talk to most attorneys. They don't understand this, or even prosecutors or defense district attorneys. It's a specialized area of law that most people haven't specialized in, and so it's really no surprise that people don't understand this. Yeah. And I swear, as owners catch on to looking at their title insurance policy and start demanding help against these liens and encumbrances. I've got, in fact, Lorraine's Chicago Title Insurance Company policy up here on the screen. It's a little unreadable, but basically, it's a very simple...
And let me interject what you're saying, CJ.
Yeah.
What you're saying is very true. Remember, I said it took me almost 6 weeks to finally get through to this kid on the other end of the phone. And it was through insistence that he had to understand that they had to represent me per the title insurance policy.
Right.
So he got snotty with me. I asked for his boss. Of course, he didn't want to give that information at first. It took me about 6 times, and then starting to quote some case law that I have found in title and such, and I can't remember what it was because I rattled it off out of my hand. He got even ruder with me, and I said, look, you get me to your boss. So he said he was going to have the boss call me back. So what I did is, before the boss could even call me back, I sent an email out, CC'd every agency, attorney general, just everybody I could think of that we normally send complaints to, and I CC'd the governor of California. Even though these people, others will say, oh, that doesn't help. Well, yes, it does, because you're dealing with people who don't understand what they're doing in the first place. And when they see on the other end that you've got the governor and the info at Barack Obama and info at Oversight Committee, they do get concerned because these are seen. These emails are seen. So I got a call back then, right after that got sent, in less than 5 minutes, I got a call from his boss. Got involved. I told him I read my title insurance policy to him. I told him to look at the proof, not just talk to me, but pull the proof up before he made any decisions.
Yeah.
And he was very nice at that point. He apologized for any misunderstanding, and I said, that's fine, we did have one, but let's go ahead and solve this problem.
Yes.
And so I sent him an email with all the attachments, again, with a breakdown bullet point of why they had to help me. And so then it took about another week, and I insisted that everybody got CC'd. I would no longer just speak to either one of them alone. And at that point, I got a very detailed letter back that did unequivocally state that what was and wasn't covered. And so now they have to help me. So what I'm telling you is they will say no at first, that they don't have to do anything, because that's kind of their autopilot.
Right.
Just like Lorraine will go through this, I'm sure. And you just have to stand strong and continue to go up the chain of command until they realize you're not going away.
Right. And don't take no for an answer. That is the bottom line, because here's the point.
No. No is not an answer in that, because everything in their documents say they have to help you. So they can't say no.
So make sure as owners that you research your title policy carefully, because if you've been watching, Lorraine had a whole bunch of issues she could file a claim on. Renee didn't. And so, Renee, you just had the grant deed issue, correct?
Oh, no. I only had the grant deed issue they would listen to. I've not got one document on my home that is not forged or altered.
Oh, correct. But they don't have to help you with that. Is that correct?
Well, technically, per their policy, no, but due to the fact that the grant deed was clouded, there is no way they can't help me with any of that, because it goes directly into those being executed. And so I'm forcing that hand.
Okay, so explain what's wrong with the grant deed.
Okay. If you want to pull the grant deed up, I sent it to you.
Yes.
Basically what happened was a couple of months ago, women I was doing some research with asked me to put my real estate hat on because there were some questions they had about grant deed execution. So I got my grant deed out, and in that grant deed noticed that, oh, wow, it was executed on April 24th. It was notarized on April 24th. And then I realized that at that time, I actually was the only one on the transaction in purchasing my home. Well, at the time I was purchasing, they were losing products left and right in the market. And remember, this is a Countrywide, so I was at the very end of a jumbo for Countrywide loan. And these were just being pushed through as fast as they could before the cutoff date. And so what happened was, as the months went by, we realized that I was going to have to put more and more down, and that it was going to be harder to close it. So my sister and brother-in-law came in to co-sign in order to get the transaction to go through. Well, they didn't come into the transaction until June. So when I recognized that the grant deed was executed and notarized, if you'll note, the date is April 24th.
Exactly.
Well, their name couldn't have been on that grant deed on April 24th and notarized. So my question was, well, gee, shouldn't they have redone the grant deed? Well, then as we did research, the problem is once that grant deed was originally executed in just my name, the grant deed is the original insurance document. Now remember, this is all about insurance. This is not about a mortgage. These are insurance products used as leverage. And so what happened was, when that grant deed was executed, it already started the encumbrance of, not encumbrance on the house, but the intake and money coming in through the original HUD-1 lender. So what I mean is, money was already starting to come in. They knew where that money was going to come from based on the grant deed giving me 100% ownership already. Now, the key here is, and there's a lot of discussion of this now going on, but I've done a lot more research, and what the securitization does is they need the grant deed executed to start. The grant deed gave me, now let's everybody read your grant deed. This is what most people didn't even think about, and it sure surprised me after looking at my document that many years. You'll note that the transfer tax is checked. You'll note that the seller's name is on there. The grantee and grantor names are on there. And it's fully executing 100% of the property to me, who was supposed to be the buyer. Now, we also know that there was no buy. I was, at that point, no matter what happened, I already had 100% ownership of that property. The argument is, oh, no, because there's verbiage in all of it that if you don't follow through, that doesn't happen, that doesn't transfer. Well, anybody out there in law, what does that document say to you? I'm calling baloney on anybody that's going to tell me that other things have to be followed through with at that point. If, in fact, that seller signing that document, I would never sign a grant deed any longer ahead of a closing on anything I sell. Because what that did was took me to the closing table thinking I was buying. You can't buy what you already own. I already had 100% ownership. So now when we go to closing, there's money already zeroing out. If you'll go to your HUD statement, the principal balance on the HUD statement, there's already money that has been brought in to zero that out. That's already been paid off. The grant deed executed the first amount of transfer. A title remitter would be on the title sheet. And those across the country, there's a couple of them who have received those. And what that does is that tells you there's nothing owed on that property when you go to closing. Nothing. That's why if you'll look at your documents where it says borrower covenant, the borrower's covenant, what that means is you're going in, and this is the word they use, seized. If you look up the word seized, you are borrower covenants, they are seized. And when you look up the word seized, it's number one, having ownership. Having ownership. Number two, having taken possession of evidence for use in a criminal prosecution, but seized, this isn't a criminal prosecution. But what it's telling you is you own it. And you are telling them in that document that there are no previous encumbrances and that you're allowing a new encumbrance to be placed on property. So you are seized, already 100% owner going into that. Again, they say, I've had arguments telling me, no, that's escrow. If you didn't go through with it, they'd all get their money back. Well, I said, okay, that's great, but when you go to your closing instructions and you start looking at the closing instructions, the only people they talk about getting their money back is the lender. But guess what? It's the investor who's already put the money in.
Right.
So the money from the lender doesn't come until you close. Correct? There's no money transferred in until everything is signed and closed. So you have, again, it's all in the dirty details of the words. But when you go and sign something that says you're seized, you own it. You're done. If you were to actually know that seller of that property, and anybody out there right now buying a property, if you know the seller of that property and they get these documents, because the other thing they tell me is, oh no, until you accept it, until it's given to you, it's not legal. Baloney. Once it's signed, it doesn't have to be recorded.
That's correct.
Be legal.
That is correct.
And so what happens is, if you and I, CJ, say I wanted to buy your house right now.
Right.
I came to you and I said, woohoo, I buy your house. You get documents from escrow telling you to sign this grant deed.
Exactly.
It's that grant deed. Nobody tells you that you're signing over 100% of that property already. So we go to closing and you and I know each other, so I've already got a copy of that grant deed. What happens at that closing table if I look at them and say, you know what, I've decided I don't want to do this. I've already got the damn grant deed.
Exactly.
Hell to pay, because they've been doing these transactions like this throughout the United States, telling us that there's contingencies based on that grant deed going forth and being handed to me after I sign all these escrow papers. Guess what? Baloney. That's all in their words. You know what?
Right.
When, in fact, that document was 100% giving me ownership of that property,
Right.
100%. If I have a copy of that, I'm done.
Right.
You and I both know anything can be filed in a court of law. And if I have a 100% grant deed granted to me and I file that,
Right.
I can file that.
Exactly.
So I'm not saying that this is what we all need to do. What I'm saying is this is what we all need to think about. Take the smoke and mirrors out of these transactions. And granted, anyone can stand in front of a judge and say, oh no, they were buying the house, that grant deed could only be given to them after they did this, this, and this. Well, you know what? If someone else came along and had title in any form, I couldn't have even listed that property. So when you go and give 100% of the title over to someone prior to closing,
Right.
and you close with someone else as owner selling it, it makes no sense. If you're going in seized, you own it. So who should be on the sales document now? Not the seller anymore, because he's already given me 100% of the title. So see, their smoke and mirrors of doing securitization have muddled the waters, because it used to be you'd go to closing, all of you'd be at the same table.
Right.
The seller would execute, you'd execute, everybody'd shake hands, woohoo, we're happy. That's
Right.
not what they're doing anymore, because then their securitization doesn't work.
Right. And I know for an absolute fact,
Grant deed executed.
and I know for a
They
fact,
executed first.
yeah, that the sellers are sent out the package, including the grant. I know this. I mean, I deal with this. Renee and I have actually talked about it. And I also want to point out, as I'm looking at this grant deed that's on the screen, Renee, this was notarized April 24, 2007, and that was the notarization of the seller's signature that Roger, he sold it to you. And then, but it wasn't recorded until July 2nd. So that means,
Right, because we closed escrow, we funded on June 27th. So it got recorded concurrently with the deed of trust.
so
The
ba-
situation remains that it was already, and this is the other argument I gave, because somebody told me you can't even begin to say that that was a legal document yet because you hadn't done your part in the escrow. But you know what? It's baloney, because when you look at the transaction, money was transferred in, already executed, based on that grant deed.
and there is nothing on this grant deed that says it's subject to any kind of money or deed of trust. It's just a grant deed.
Exactly. And the point is, you're going into that closing with money being transferred in from investors out in the world there, Fidelity, escrow funds or 401ks, whatever's going on out there. You have money already transferred prior to closing to that grant deed, giving a zeroed out amount where now the next transaction based on the deed of trust is going to take place. This is how I've learned to explain it to others to make it make more sense. So those of you out there who, I'm not preaching to the choir, I'm talking to the ones who are just now new to this.
Right.
If I give you a credit card, CJ, this is basically what happened. At closing, lender, in the parentheses, remember, gives you, CJ, a $10,000 credit limit here. We're giving you a credit card.
Right.
The lender says, CJ, the difference is I'm going to go on and be a co-signer with you. Is that okay? And you say, okay, because you're checking off as you're in escrow. And they say, oh, and by the way, you can't use the credit card anymore. Only I can. But you still have to pay the bill.
Right.
Oh, and then you know what? Just in case you don't pay the bill, I'm going to put a lien on your house so that I can do this investment for you on your behalf. This is not a mortgage. This is an investment product based
Right.
on insurance fraud
Right.
and using you, who used to have a credit card you could use. Wouldn't that have been nice for us to know that that investment we handed over to them unknowingly,
Exactly.
thinking we were getting a lien on our home for a mortgage?
Exactly.
Nothing to do with the mortgage. It was a credit that you gave me the right to co-sign with you. Oh, and then the last part of it is, by the way, if in fact I decide I don't want to use it anymore, I can assign it to anybody I want, and they come on and take my place. But you still have to pay the bill.
Right.
So,
Right.
So
Right.
anyhow, that's my take on the grant deed and the execution of the deed of trust. And then we know going forward there's a lot more into it. And but that is what I was very much wanting to get across. What I was really wanting to get across today. People need to think about the transaction. They need to think about what really took place, not what we were told
Right.
was really taking
Right.
place.
And most buyers
It's giving me this time.
most buyers and sellers don't even understand it because they just do what they're told. They go into their signing appointments, they sign what's put before them, and voila, at some point in time, they get the house. You know, the buyers get the house, the seller gets their money, and we're all hunky-dory, except what Renee's bringing to light is that behind the scenes, the banks and the title companies are using these documents for their own nefarious purposes. And obviously...
Just obligations. It's just like anything else out there. Anything that has... And remember, the grant deed is just about that moment. The deed of trust is about 360 payments you're obligated to.
Right.
That's what they are leveraging there.
Right.
Not what you think it is. They've got 360 payments of which they now can use as collateral to their leverage.
Right.
Make sense?
Yes. Now, before we leave, because we talked about two complaints.
That's a lot more money.
Exactly. We talked about 2 complaints. So we've talked about the title claim. And before we go, I want one of you to share about the whistleblower. Who wants to share that? Lorraine?
I can do that.
Okay. I've got up on the screen the IRS whistleblower form. So Lorraine, explain how we can use this to our advantage.
Okay. What it is that the whistleblower form is a form that IRS, you fill it out and send it with attachment of showing proof, which in my case was the assignment, which was defective. A defective mortgage assignment means that the mortgage should not have ever gone into the trust, and these banks that are using our mortgages in these trusts, what they're doing is actually they're double dipping.
Exactly.
And so what you do is you fill out the whistleblower form, and then I actually got a letter back from the IRS telling me what my claim number was and who's investigating this, and they're going to have to look right into the trust, and they're going to see for themselves that the note never made it to the trust, first of all, and the assignment wasn't done properly, and yet the trust was claiming tax-exempt status that whole time.
Exactly. In other words, this in my summary, my simplification, when these assignments are dated years after the cutoff date of the trust, they didn't make it into the trust. If they had, they wouldn't have had an assignment. And so literally every one of these assignments are invalid and constitute a violation of the tax law. So Lorraine, is there some kind of, if you will, boilerplate statement that you can help us draft so that when people want to fill out the whistleblower, they can just use our boilerplate statements in this and then change it for their assignment number and their different mortgage-backed security? Because you would have to say, okay, this assignment was, it's claimed to go into this mortgage-backed security and it should have gone in at the cutoff date and it didn't.
Yeah, there's an actual IRS statute law that I put on mine. I can find my whistleblower form and let you have a copy.